All right, welcome back to another Wright Stew podcast. I am Paul Stewart.
And I am Brian Wright.
And together, we're the Wright Stew podcast. So another great day of football yesterday. So we're going to dive right into what we noticed, learned, and loved from the 3 games yesterday. But Brian, I'm gonna give you some of the things I noticed first, and I want to hear your reaction on some of these things.
I like that.
First of all, I noticed a lot of cold weather. Different guys, different coaches were wearing different things. But the first one I noticed was Sean Payton was wearing the winter hat with the big puffy thing on top. So it's officially called a Pom Pom. How do you feel about the big puffy Pom Pom on top of a hat?
Yeah, I mean, we call them toboggans. I think we had an episode where we talked about hey, we'd like it to be called toboggans, but I really don't have a strong preference. But yeah, I mean, I've got them. I've seen them. I think, I mean, I'm getting to the point in my life where it just don't really matter that much. Hey, if you like it, wear it. If you don't
warm,
like it, yeah.
If it's warm, you like it. If it's functional, good. If it's not functional, doesn't matter to you. Okay, so I did read. I was wondering why those were there, and initially they were worn by sailors who were in tight quarters, and it was used as somewhat of a buffer if they accidentally bumped their head. It at least gave them a little bit of notification or some cushion between their head and whatever they're bumping their head on. So initially functional, now more just for decorative purposes. So,
are you a ball, or are you a little thing on top? Are you a fan of it?
I could care less. I could care more. Like, it doesn't really matter to me. Again, I'm more about functionality. If the hat's actually keeping my head warm, I am great with it. I think they're cute. Second one, I noticed a lot of super athletic running quarterbacks yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen, Bo Nix. I mean, Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson the day before. Has
Baker running over people.
Baker Mayfield, right? Has the quarterback, and there's not at least in these playoffs. I mean, Patrick Mahomes might be the closest we have to the traditional Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, even further back, Joe Montana, Dan Marino, just sitting in the pocket. We don't see that quarterback very much anymore. Do you think that's the evolution, or is that where we are right now?
Well, I think it's a combination of, back in the day, they didn't protect him the way they did. Like if you're a quarterback and you were going to get run and you were running, there was no protection.
You're going to smoke.
So yeah. I think some of that protection, the protection they have in the pocket, you can be much more of a get out of trouble with your legs kind of profile, opposed to used to be get rid of the ball because you're going to get killed. The guy's going down with all his body weight. So I think it's kind of a combination of the evolution of athletes, right? Realizing that, it's kind of come full circle. Obviously, quarterbacks used to run back in the day before the forward pass was as prevalent. And so it's kind of full circle. And if you can do a little bit of both, or you can do a lot of both in the cases of all these guys for the most part, it's just another weapon. It's incredible.
It seems like it's almost like kind of expected now for a lot of these quarterbacks. So really, really cool to see that athleticism. All right, last one. We've had 5 games so far.
Yeah.
And NBC, Fox, CBS had a couple, and Amazon had one. So we're kind of getting the best of announcers on all these platforms.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go through the ones that we've seen. Tell me which ones you like. Which ones are your favorite? Which ones have you really enjoyed?
Yeah.
So on NBC, the Washington Buccaneers game, we had Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth. On Fox, we had Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady calling the Eagles-Packers game. On CBS, has had 2 games. On the Bills-Broncos, we had Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. And on the Chargers-Texans game, we had Ian Eagle and Charles Davis. And then Amazon had the Ravens-Steelers, which was Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. Was there one group or one pair or something that you really enjoy listening to?
Well, I'm usually, a Mike Tirico guy, really, than whoever he's paired with. And Collinsworth does a really good job. And so I enjoy him. He gets kind of made fun of. All of these guys kind of get made fun of now. I saw there was some controversy on Romo and some of the things that he said. And I think that was kind of completely blown out of proportion. And, I like Brady. Now, do I like Brady to where he's a $350 million or $375 million guy? No, dude, no. I mean, I don't know if I like anybody that much, but if I was picking, and Kurt Herbstreit, honestly, has kind of grown on me. I can remember, he's been doing this forever on the college
He's been
level,
doing it for
and
a
it
long
was
time, yeah.
yeah. And so you kind of originally, I was like, oh, and then he's kind of grown on me, and you kind of put him with college football, and now he's kind of with Amazon
Kyle
and what they're
Michaels,
doing
yeah.
there. And so if I was ranking them, Tirico and Collinsworth would be one. Then there's probably two or three of them that are tied for,
Yeah, second or third. Yeah.
yeah, tied along the way. I don't have strong. Again, I do think bad ones can take away. Chris Davis has kind of become, his voice is synonymous with Madden. Like if he played Madden the last handful of years, he
Yeah.
is the voice on Madden. So even though he doesn't always get A games, he's had a lot of Panther games, and maybe that's not a good sign for his career. But they have been, his voice has kind of become synonymous with the Madden football game.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting. Like, so Tom Brady, first year of broadcasting, went right to the top. He is
Yeah.
the number one color guy, and he does a really good job. I really, really enjoy him. I like Tony Romo a lot. I mean, they're calling the plays out before the plays actually happen, and it just shows you how smart those guys are, how locked in they are, that sort of thing, and kind of like how much the NFL goes in patterns, and you can see those sort of things, which is really interesting. The other thing to me, Al Michaels, I mean, he has been a part of my sports journey from the time, from literally as long as I can remember. He called the 1980, miracle game, USA versus Russia. I was 2 years old for that, so don't remember that. But the other day, I was telling you, I was watching a replay of the 1989 San Francisco Giants versus Oakland A's
Why
Game 4
wouldn't
of the
you be?
World
Yeah.
Series. Al Michaels was calling that game, and he sounded just as great then as he does now, calling the Ravens Steelers on a football game. So, big fan of Al Michaels and Kirk
Hey,
Herbstreit.
I got one thing to add on Al Michaels. I
Yeah.
heard an interview with him. I think he was on McAfee or somewhere. You may have heard this. Doesn't eat vegetables.
No, good for him.
Vegetables are not a part of his diet at all. He will eat starches like your potatoes and that
Yeah.
sort of thing, but no vegetables. Obviously, a huge meat guy, and
Yeah.
has done well enough to where he can do essentially whatever he wants when it comes to his diet. But he looks really good to never eat a vegetable.
Al Michaels is doing well, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no vegetables. Yeah.
That's tough. That seems like just a veggie would sneak in your mouth every once in a while, right?
Right. I think he
Like, hey, how'd
detests
that
them.
broccoli get in
Yeah.
there? Yeah, that's impressive. Is it? I mean, no vegetables at all?
No vegetables. No vegetables. He does not let green colors, other than maybe if he puts something on
Like a
a
garnish, maybe, like some
yeah, like a
onions on a baked
cheeseburger. Maybe he'll
potato.
get lettuce. I don't know. It seemed to indicate whenever they interview, he is maybe not anti-vegetable, but is anti-eating vegetable.
Okay.
Kind of that old saying, he doesn't eat what his food eats. Kind of deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's the old adage, right? Do vegetarians eat vegetables because they love animals or because they hate vegetables? Right?
Because vegetarians, because they hate animals or love animals or hate
Love animals, but
vegetables
they
or
hate
love.
vegetables, so they eat it's something to think about.
Ah, yeah, I got
Something
you.
to ponder.
If everything is alive, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. So we're going to jump into the Buffalo and Denver game, which Jim Nantz called with Tony Romo. And one of the things we learned during that game, that was Jim Nantz's 500th game that he called. So again, staying with that commentary, Jim Nantz, just a classic voice, the voice of the Masters. I think we all around that time say hello, friends. And then does a lot of March Madness stuff. So
I
congratulations
think he
to
gets
him.
caught up sometimes in his voice and his cadence.
Another thing I learned, Bo Nix is better than I thought he was. I know they only put up 7 points, but he did some really good things in that game. Liked the way he threw the ball, liked the way he used his legs, made some good decisions. I think just didn't have the weapons around him to beat Buffalo. But it seems like there's a bright future for Bo Nix in the Denver Broncos.
Oh, there's no question on that. Phenomenal athlete. There have been some comparisons where he's like Josh Allen light, but he can throw the pee out of it. Yeah, I mean, and come out and score that first drive, and then you think, oh, this is going to be a game, right? And throws that deep pass
Yeah.
for a touchdown. Then doesn't score. I mean, I think a lot of teams. There's great games coming up this weekend, but a lot of teams are going to have trouble with Buffalo. What I learned is essentially, and that's just one of my things. Hey, if you score first, doesn't mean you're going to score again. I mean, just they made it look so easy the first time, and then Josh did his thing, and I think I saw he was like, if Josh don't turn the ball over and he's as efficient, he's like 20 for 26. I mean, dude, the only time you beat the Bills usually is when there's turnovers, and a lot of times that is Josh being a little too aggressive or somebody fumbling. So if he's clean, they're going to be really hard to beat.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. A couple other things I love this game. A uniform thing. I love the blue and the orange contrast of the game. That was cool. And I love on Denver's uniform on the helmet on the front there, they've got the 5280 representing
Wow,
how many feet are in a mile for the Mile High City, and
that
uh,
makes sense.
just a
Yeah,
cool little touch on the helmet.
yeah.
The other thing, so Denver had a chance to tie it up heading into the half with a field goal attempt. I love, and we'll bring this back later on to the last game of the night. I love when a field goal attempt hits the uprights.
Mm,
100% of the time, if it hits the uprights, it makes that boom sound. I'm going to
yeah.
have a verbal reaction of, oh, like I'm going to be, that's one of the few things that I react to when it happens on a football field. Like, I don't know. It gets me every time. I don't know. How about you, Brian?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm. It depends on what side of the. If you're indifferent to the game, right? But if you're on the other side, and like you said, we'll get to it at the end. If you're on the other side, I'm sure you're like, or you're like, yeah. And so it
Yeah.
is. It's just more drama. And again, I
Yeah.
think football does a really good job, especially playoff football. There's so much drama around it. Even though Denver got kind of their doors blown off, there's still a handful of plays, like you said, that could have changed that game.
Yeah.
To make it different. It's not really, even though the score ended up what 31-7, is that right, Paul?
31-7, yeah. So it wasn't really close. But other thing I loved, Denver, Sean Payton, special teams, they did the fake punt. And that was kind of
Yeah.
what we said. If Denver was going to win this game, they're playing with house money, do those kind of things. And they did it. They executed a fake punt, which kind of kept them in the first half a little longer because they maintained possession. They didn't score on that drive.
Right.
But it's fun to see those kind of things as well. And Sean Payton actually showed the replay of it on the game, but Sean Payton notoriously did that onside kick when he was the Saints head coach against the Colts in the Super Bowl to start the second half and got the ball back. So really exciting things there. So any other thoughts on the Broncos Bills game?
No, other than it was kind of like we expected. If Denver was going to win, it was going to be a close game,
Yeah.
and I feel like Buffalo's going to turn over. So I think everything that happened in that game was kind of how we expected it.
Yeah. And last thing, another post game interview. Josh Allen just seemed like such a likable fella. I mean,
Oh,
just
for
said
sure.
the right thing. Just happy with the win. Good team guy. Seems like somebody you want to play with and for at all times. So next game was the Eagles Packers game. Jordan Love just didn't show up. Didn't have the game he needed to. And if the Packers are going to execute and win, he needs to be firing on all cylinders. The Packers now have a long lineage of Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. Now Jordan Love has been handed that mantle. All top tier level quarterbacks. And Jordan Love, he's a little bit in between Rodgers and Favre, but didn't really show up at all yesterday. Brian, what did you think of his
Well,
performance?
I would say this: they still had chances at the end. I thought there was a pass interference in the end zone that wasn't called. It
Yeah,
easily could have been called, has been called. If they score right there, that changes the game. Or get down. Obviously, it'll be first and goal at the one, or whatever the rule is right there. And we've said it, and it's been football for a long time, at least in the NFL. Is hey, your quarterback has to be talented, but he has to play well. And if he plays well and takes care of the ball, you got a real chance of competing. But if you don't, you can essentially get beat by almost anybody. And really, the Eagles just played super clean. It wasn't like they were playing out of their mind. Saquon could have broke off another score at the end.
yeah,
He is so. What you realize, I think, the longer I'm around and watch sports, and I knew this kind of intuitively, but most of your really great players, I'm sure they have some selfish tendencies, but they're all
yeah,
about winning, and whatever's the best thing, whatever I got to do to win. Now, a lot of those cases, when you think about Jordan and some of these great competitors, is it's them scoring, but the great competitors, stats don't matter. Let's win, and then
Yeah. And
everything
that's
else
one
will
of the
take
things
care
I
of
said
itself.
on my. I noticed Saquon is a winner and cares
Yeah.
about the team more than anything because he could have busted that whatever that was, a 70-yard run. But I mean, he probably could have ran a little further, even picked up some more yards. But dude, he just slid. He's like, that
Hey,
just
game's
locked the
over.
game up. We're
Yeah.
done. Game's over. I'm not going to do anything. Again, just Saquon Barkley just shows his level of intelligence, emotional intelligence on the game, what's going on,
Oh
what
yeah.
needs to happen, and what
Yeah.
needs to get done. So Saquon just continues to move up on my list of favorites as he continues to be
Oh yeah. Just
that kind of player.
again, maturity, likable. Him, Josh Allen, all these guys, dude. And again, I know the NFL markets a little bit around them, but I think it can only be so fake. Most of these guys, again, hyper athletic, mature, intelligent, and if you're not those things, you're not in the league very long. Even though there's some exceptions to that rule.
Yeah. And one of the things I also noticed or learned, I guess, because Fox is doing the Super Bowl, a lot of ads for Kendrick Lamar doing the halftime show. Any thoughts or feelings on Kendrick Lamar, Brian?
Oh man,
Can you
I'm
can you
not.
name a Kendrick Lamar song?
No, dude, I couldn't even pick Kendall Lamar out of a lineup, bro. That's how out of it I am. Seriously, I know you're a huge music guy, but like if you give me a lineup and you like, hey, describe this fella, I might would recognize the song. I'm sure I would, but I'm not. No, honestly, anytime there's a commercial on nowadays, especially with one football game on, I'm going right to my phone. Right, if I haven't recorded
Yeah.
it to where I can fast forward through it, I'm not watching commercials. If I don't have to, and then if I do have to, I'm looking right at my phone. I pay no attention to the commercials. They're not selling to me. I'm not allowing
Yeah,
that
yeah.
in football.
So I know who Kendrick Lamar is. I know a few of the songs. I didn't know his catalog was big enough to host, or he was big enough to host the halftime show. But I mean, hey, I always enjoy a good halftime show at the Super Bowl. So
Yeah, that's my wife and my daughters. That's what they're into. I'm
yeah,
getting snacks, getting fatter. That's really what I'm into. The halftime shows to me, I wish it wasn't as long. I mean, it is again,
maybe we'll have to
it's
have a
right there.
special
It's right there below the parades. Right there below parades.
right
Like
below halftime shows.
yeah, the
They've
halftime
come a
shows.
long
You got
way.
parades that are kind of worthless. Then you got halftime show right below parades.
They've come a long way from the Super Bowl one halftime show that was just like the marching band, like the USC marching band, whoever it was. So
Perfect. That's all you need. We're
a
we're we're
long
there to
way
watch
from that.
football.
So maybe we'll have to have a special Right Stew podcast viewing party, and we'll invite like our
Yeah,
P1
maybe go
listeners.
live on TikTok.
Yeah, we'll see what that's all about. All right, last game of the day: Washington Commanders versus Tampa Bay Bucs, and realistically, the first real close, classic kind of game that we had for the entire playoff so far. First thing I noticed, the moment was not too big for Jaden Daniels.
Oh no, dude. He's smooth as the other side of the pillow. What if I think he's still such a young guy, legitimately could still be in college maybe. Um, dude, such a poise, right? And I'm sure there's some fine lines you got to walk in regards to arrogance, confidence, and but man, he does a really good job of having poise.
Yeah, absolutely. And not playing like a rookie, and really not playing like a rookie all year. Also, one of the things I learned, he was one of three other quarterbacks or four quarterbacks now who were a rookie, went on the road and won their first playoff game. So that was again just speaks
He
to who
played
he
well
is.
too, but I would
Yeah.
say Baker with that fumble changed the game. Look, there's a couple of plays here and there. I love to see Mike Evans and Lattimore going at each other. That battle on the outside. That's probably my favorite. I've seen. I don't know Mike Evans, but I really like him for some reason. Lattimore seems to fight with everybody, which part of me likes, right? Because you want a guy who's not backing down. I think you know
It's
if you
got a
see
little
about
dog
back
in
in
him.
the
Yeah.
yeah. So you like that fight inning, and he wanted him to take Mike Evans to 1-on-1. They changed that late in the game to where that wasn't working. They were going to double Evans and then let Lattimore kind
Yeah.
of work 1-on-1 with the other guy. But
A little more
what a
bracket coverage.
phenomenal
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, I think too that fumble really changed the game, right? And it was interesting because you see that play happen 1,000 times a weekend, or maybe not that many, but you see it happen a lot. But then you start breaking it down, like, oh man, there is some real timing that has to go on to that play. There is some real things, and you see how it got kind of muffed on that. And Tampa had just done a good job of stopping Washington on a 4th down play, or essentially a 1st and goal situation, and they stopped them. Again, another questionable PI call not called in the end zone against Tampa. But so then they get the ball literally right back and then score. And then again, you've got the field goal at the end, boink, off the right upright, and then bounces in.
It just added drama. But I would say just some of the execution on Tampa Bay side. There's a couple funky things on handoffs that happened. Again, there's probably 3 plays to where if Tampa just executes some of the basics of the basic, Baker played his butt off. I think he was like 15 for 18 or 16 for 19. He didn't throw for a ton of yards, but was pretty clean minus that fumble.
Yeah.
And then their little running back who got bumped up to starter for Tampa Bay, dude, he looked like something out of the video game. Yeah.
Yeah. I said that game with Baker and it almost felt like a high school football game.
It definitely felt college.
When you had like these 2-star, like, oh man, that's a 4 and that's a 5-star. And that's what it felt like. And the quarterbacks were just playing so well, playing at a different level. And you could see when the field goal went through, they went to Mike Evans for a second and he was ticked. Like, and I get it, but you don't see a lot of guys emotionally like going like upset about those sort of things.
Real competitors, and I think he is one. You don't play that long and do what he has done. But man, done it the right way, competes like crazy. Hey, so Paulie, who are you gonna be pulling for the rest of the playoffs? I'm picking the Bills. I was kind of Tampa Bay, kind of like Detroit in their story, but for a while, I feel like the Bills were Carolina Panthers of the North. They've exceeded anything that we've ever done. So I'm pulling for the Bills. Who you pulling for going forward?
Yeah, so NFC, I think I'm a Detroit guy.
Yeah.
Just so longing for a championship there, just to get to it. Gotta love what Dan Campbell's doing there. All the things he's creating culture, and that's a lot of what we've been talking about. These head coaches creating culture. So I really like what he's done in Detroit. In the AFC, man, we've talked about this. I'm more of a dynasty guy. I know not.
Oh, so you're going
the Chiefs.
You're going Chiefs.
I want to see.
I don't know. You want to see? You know what you want to see? You want to see more Taylor Swift. Is what you want to see.
Probably. Yeah, I'm a big Swiftie at heart. You know that. So I'd like to see. For me, a Chiefs Lions Super Bowl would be a lot of fun. But man, if the Ravens got there or the Bills got there, that would be great. I like the Eagles too, man. There's a lot of Washington's a fun story. There's a lot of good things to like and pull from all.
Hey, there's no schlubs. There's no underdogs really left. I mean, obviously there'll be somebody eliminated tonight.
Yeah.
But there won't be any it's kind of chalk, I think, as far as in the wild card round that one through, or I guess it would be 2 through 5 that essentially won.
Yeah. So, but a lot of good teams left. So exciting news. So, all right. Well, thanks for checking us out today. Make sure you subscribe, follow, like us on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Apple Pod, Spotify, iHeartRadio. We appreciate it. Hey, if you like what you're listening to, make sure you share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with others. And if you can, make sure you comment and give us a rating on one of your favorite listening platforms. Hey, thanks for checking us out.
Go Pack.